Welcome back to Mac's Garage. If you like what you see here, as always, hit the like, share, subscribe. Helps me out and I appreciate it. So today I'm standing here with 2004 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. It's got the 6-liter LQ4 in it. This is hopefully going to be the truck that I drive this winter. We'll kind of figure that out later. I think I can put a link like right there. So there should be like an overall walk around video that shows up somewhere at the top of this on whatever those card things are. So yeah, check that out if you want to check out the truck, or subscribe, find the channel, look at it that way, whatever. The video today is going to deal with one of the many issues that this truck has. Now, this truck has 306,000 miles, I believe, something like that. It has low oil pressure, which is pretty concerning. So there's a couple different things that you can have going on. One, you can have a gauge issue. Two, you can have an engine issue, or I guess there's a third one, which is you could have an oil issue, but as long as you've got oil, that shouldn't really be it. And this one is full of used oil. I mean, it's been running this engine. I didn't add used oil to it, but it's got oil. The gauge says it doesn't have pressure. So here's a video of the cold start when I pulled this truck in. The camera died, so you only got what you got. Cold start. That's not good. No oil pressure. What if I rev on? But it does eventually make it up, so at a cold idle or whatever RPM you run it at cold, it has like little less than 20 psi. Which is, it's not engine damaging territory, but it's not good either. Now, the issue I had yesterday or a few days ago, whatever, I moved this thing and it did not pick up enough oil pressure to actually register on the gauge, and the dash was dinging at me and telling me I had no oil pressure unless I revved it up, and then it would come up to like 10. So it has an oil pressure issue. The first thing you should do when you have an oil pressure issue is actually verify that you do have an oil pressure issue. The way you do that is with a mechanical gauge. Now, the problem with an LS engine and a mechanical gauge is, unless you have one that specifically has an adapter for an LS, or you bought an adapter for an LS engine, then you're not going to have it. The oil pressure sensor is I believe it's a 16x1, don't quote me on that, find it on the internet or something. So it's an oddball thread size that you're probably not going to have. Now, this is a sensor I took out of this engine, and it's kind of a bad sign already because this is an aftermarket sensor. It looks relatively clean compared to what the rest of the engine looks like, so it probably was replaced chasing this issue. And yeah, so that's not a real great sign. So I've already swapped this out for a GM sensor. Kind of the deal on that is I didn't have a great way to check the pressure on this, and I'm not going to for several days at a minimum if I order the adapter. So we're just going to swap this out, we'll fire it up. Here's a video of that. Alright, let's see if it's fixed. That's better, but kind of where it ended up before. It's still under 20. It's still kind of fluctuating around. I think probably a bigger part of that coming up is the fact that it's had oil run through it recently, and it's probably warmed up a touch being inside. So we're not going to call that done. So obviously that didn't really change. It maybe is a touch higher, but I don't think it was really the sending unit deal. I think it's just that it's inside, the oil's warmed up and whatever. I did buy a mechanical gauge, just the cheapest mechanical gauge I could find, and at some point I may modify some things to take an oil pressure reading off the oil cooler system, but yeah, that's not going to happen tonight. So from this point, we're going to assume there's actually something going on with the engine. Now, if it's got oil and it doesn't have pressure, chances are it's not the pump. It's not that it can't be the pump, but chances are it's not the pump. Oil pumps don't really go bad that often. So our options are either you could have a clogged up pickup tube or pickup screen in the oil pan. Kind of don't really think so. These LS's have an O-ring where the pickup tube goes into the oil pump. In fact, I'm really hoping that's the problem here. So we're gonna drain the oil. I'll cut the filter open. I'm gonna drain the oil into a separate pan, cut the filter open, look for anything that looks like engine damage. But as long as that looks reasonably good, we're gonna pull the oil pan off. All right, so I can't figure out a lighting that I can set up with a camera that I can see and work around, but I've got the pan off and it looks, I've seen cleaner engines. I've seen cleaner engines with the same mileage on it. So chances are they were either going a little too long on oil changes or maybe using real crappy oil. I'm not real sure, but there's some sludge in here. Not terrible. I'm not saying that this is bad. The pickup screen is clear, so we're gonna drop this screen off, which there's one bolt up there, and then a couple, I guess just one bolt that holds it up to the windage tray. So I'm gonna take those off, see what kind of shape that O-ring's in. All right. So here's the pickup tube assembly out of the truck. There was actually two bolts that hold it up and then the third one up here at the end. Now what I was really hoping to see was this this O-ring just being split in half and just nasty and not even there. And it's not. And honestly, it's a little on the hard side, but it's not bad. It seemed like it was stuck in there halfway decent. So I don't think that's going to be the issue. I'll go ahead and change the O-ring since it's out, but a little bit disappointing. This is the new O-ring. It's a Felpro. Felpro just sends you the black O-ring. I've seen other kits send you multiple O-rings, but we'll just pop that one off, pop the new O-ring on, and put this tube back up in place. Alright, so I got the new O-ring on, got a little assembly grease on it, and I actually forgot where I put it already, but a good news deal, the old O-ring split and fell apart as soon as I touched it, so maybe it wasn't creating a great seal. I don't know, we'll find out. Alright, so we got fresh oil, fresh filter, new O-ring on the pickup tube, and down here on the bottom, which I'll have to light up so you can see it. I don't have the light wired up yet, but I put a mechanical gauge on it. So we are about to find out that this engine has problems, because I have super low expectations right now. But here we go. Huh. Look at that. We're at 40 psi. And we're also at 40 psi. So 40 psi at idle, not bad. I know you're not supposed to cold rev them, but here we go. Give it a little bit of RPM. And somehow that seems to have fixed the oil pressure issue. So now I can go on to fixing all the other problems with this truck.